Welcome to another episode of Reality Bites. I'm Dave Hinterleiter. I'm the host of today's show, and with me is a good friend of ours, Senator Bill Cunnnigham, 18th District.
Yep.
And I tell you what, I'm glad to see you sitting down today, because the past weekend you were really, really busy. The hustle on up the Hancock, is that what it's called?
That's
hustle
right.
up the Hancock?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was a fundraiser for the Respiratory Health Association, and that's a group that does really good work in Illinois, helping out people with various forms of lung disease, whether cancer, emphysema, cystic fibrosis. So every year, this was the 20th year, I believe, they organize a fundraiser where they get individuals to run up all 94 floors of the Hancock Center. So they had about 4,000 people this year.
Wow.
And several fellow members of the General Assembly did it with Mike Hastings, who represents the South Suburbs, Daniel Biss, a state senator from the North Suburbs, and State Rep Kelly Burke, Southwest Suburbs, and Laura Fine, a state rep from the North Suburbs. So we all did it together. We almost had a quorum of the General Assembly in place, running up and down the stairs. So it was great. Not easy, but it was painful, but luckily over relatively quickly. It takes about 25 minutes, a half hour. So.
Wow, that's great. That's shorter than it takes to get on the elevator up there sometimes.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
If you can put up with the pain in your legs, it might be faster.
Wow, well, that's awesome, and thank you for doing that to help. It's just amazing that you guys got together, and did you really have time to talk?
We did,
is there a lot of heavy breathing going on?
There was a long wait before we went. It takes a while to funnel 4,000 people through a stairwell, so we were in line for about an hour ahead of time, so we were able to talk then.
Now, I'm a runner, and I've participated in many events. Bathroom breaks, what do you do?
There were a couple floors you could have made a pit stop,
Okay.
but I chose not to. I kept moving on.
I'm blaming you. Wow. Fire drill?
It was like a fire drill, but maybe that's it. I have a lot of friends that are firefighters that have
I know you're
train going up and down stairs all the time. So now I can tell them, I can hang with them. Yeah. Although they usually carry several pounds of hoses.
Yeah, I didn't do that. Pack on their back.
So they got me beat with that.
Did you take an energy bar or anything with you?
Just a bottle of Gatorade I downed right before we started.
Gatorade? Is that a shameless plug?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gatorade.
But that kept me hydrated.
Yeah. Good deal. Well, thank you for doing that. That's really cool. I know you're involved with a lot of other entities. Could you just name a couple of other things you do?
I get involved with a lot of different charities on sort of that sort of hands-on manner. I'm always involved with Special Olympics Polar Plunge, which we do every year. Usually, it's the first Sunday of March. Done that maybe about 7 or 8 of the last 10 years, and that's something you really dread. It ruins my weekend looking forward to that Sunday morning. But then once you do it, you're really happy you did it. It's invigorating. It's a great group, and it's one of the best charities. A charity I've been involved with a long time, Special Olympics Chicago, and they do a great job. And the last couple of years, we got to rub elbows with famous people, Lady Gaga and Jimmy Fallon and Vince Voyer. A lot of celebrities now have jumped in. It used to be the politicians were the celebrities, but now a lot of other big shots have jumped in, which is okay because it's brought a lot of attention to the effort, and it's helped Special Olympics raise a lot of money. I also get involved with Kiwanis and the Lions Clubs and Misericordia on a lot of times on their candy days. I'll stand out on usually 103rd in Kedzie, where Chicago meets Evergreen Park.
Make a note of that.
Yeah, I'll
set your sights.
Yes. Representative Fran Hurley and I will usually, it seems like about 3 or 4 Fridays a year, we'll be out on that street corner collecting donations for those groups.
Well, that's really nice of you. I know you have to be very fleet of foot. I'm a fellow Kiwanian, former Kiwanian. And that is like a death wish when you stand out there on those corners and you're just saying, please be careful, drive safely, throw something in if you want. We've got something great for you, but you're helping the kids. You're always helping the kids.
There's an art to doing it, I learned. Like I was lucky I survived the first year I did it, but after a while you learn to time the lights and know when to get off the street. But you have to be on your toes.
You meet a lot of interesting people.
You do, and you find out that there are a lot of really generous people out there. They want to do their part to help out.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing that. And I want to back up for a second because, we first met, you had already been a state rep for a couple of years. First time state senator, 2013.
Yeah, that's when I was sworn
January
in.
2013. Yeah. We had a little meeting, you, Senator Mike, and Senator Napoleon. We sat at the DS at the Tinley Park Convention Center, and we talked about, I remember one of the questions I wanted to ask everybody, and it's like, why would you do this? Can you tell me?
Sure. I mean, for me, it's something that goes back a number of years. From the time I was a kid, 10, 11, 12 years old, I was always really interested in history, in government, and politics. So it was something I got from my parents. My parents made sure I read the newspaper every day and watched the news, and at the dinner table would ask me questions about what was going on in the news. They were always really interested in current events. So I got it from them. And went to school and majored in political science, got involved in volunteering on campaigns from back in the time when I was in high school, and started working right out of college for who was then my alderman in the city of Chicago, Mike Sheehan, while he was running for Cook County Sheriff. And Mike got elected Cook County Sheriff back in 1990. I was about 22 years old, and went to work with him in the sheriff's office, and ended up working in the sheriff's office for 20 years. Doing community relations, and then the last 4 years I was there, Tom Dart became sheriff, and I was his chief of staff. So always have had a passion for government and politics, but I've also been always really involved in my community with their different charitable organizations and with the schools. I ran a number of years ago for my local school council. Just have always, my family's lived on the southwest side, in the southwest suburbs, for about 125 years. My family's been in the area, and all along have gotten involved in the community. So that's just something that I've always been used to. And when I had the opportunity to run for state representative, I leapt at the chance. And so now it's about 6 years I've been in the General Assembly.
Great. Well, thank you for your service. I was going to bring a soccer ball because I know you coach youth soccer, as I did. Because I was a professional soccer player in earlier life.
I didn't know that, Dan.
I wasn't.
Just make it up?
Yes.
Well, let me tell you a story about how I got it. It shows you that I've coached soccer for 10 years. This year, I've helped out the Mother Macaulay soccer team. My daughter's a sophomore at Mother Macaulay, so I did the indoor sophomore soccer at the Oak Lawn Pavilion. So the way I got involved in that is when my daughter was, I think, 5 or 6 years old. She was playing in a little pickup a soccer league in our parish, St. Barnabas Parish, and I was watching it as just a dad, and I noticed the person who was coaching the kids, he was also reffing, he kept calling for corner kicks, and I said to him, I'm like, hey, I don't mean to butt in, but that's not a corner kick, it's a goal kick. And he looked at me, he said, you mean you know the rules? And I said, yeah, kind of. And he took the whistle off his neck and he put it on mine. And he said, well, you're the coach then. So I've been coaching soccer ever since.
Yeah, cool. That's kind of how I got involved. It was accidental. Now I'm doing swimming.
Okay.
Because when I grew up, we swam in the river. That's a lot different.
You learn how to swim
in the Southland. Let me just tell you. But youth sports, so important.
Yes.
So important. And getting kids engaged in sportsmanship, leadership.
Being physically active, too, is really important. I'll tell you, one of the things that, I thought I knew everything there was to know about state government when I first ran. One of the things I wasn't completely up to speed with was how big of a piece Medicaid is of state government. That's the number one trough that we spend money on. We spend more money on healthcare than we do on our schools. And one of the things I've come to learn as I've delved deeper and deeper into that about the real costs of kids not being physically active. I mean, we see obesity is a real concern now. Kids, sitting around playing video games and not getting out and getting active. And it has some real effects, and one of the effects is on our budget. I mean, treating people for diabetes and heart disease and other things that are related to individuals just not being active enough. It's a real problem. So a way to address that at a real early age is making sure kids are active in sports or some sort of extracurricular activity.
Getting up and moving, that's for sure. Because my thumbs are pretty sore now.
Yeah,
but
you don't burn a lot of calories working your thumbs.
So, well, you've proven it. I mean, you've lived that life. You're a marathoner. But what really got me was your half marathon coffee tour.
Yeah.
I thought that was
actually an idea
that was really great.
State Rep Fran Hurley came up with when she wanted to tie. I was running the Payless Half Marathon, and Fran and I frequently try to do them once a month, a coffee and conversation at a coffee shop somewhere in our district. And she came up with the idea. She's like, why don't we do a coffee and conversation half marathon? So we've done it the last 2 summers. We pick a day, usually in July, where we go to 13 different coffee shops. Like 13 miles, a half marathon, 13 different coffee shops in one morning and afternoon in our district. And last year we started on the extreme northeast part of our district at about 95th and Loomis in the city, and went all the way out to 159th and LaGrange Road, Starbucks there, and then back again. 13 coffee shops in one day. So I got to meet a lot of people, drank a lot of coffee.
I was going to say, did you really have coffee at every stop?
I promised Fran I would and was not able to do it. I probably had a cup of coffee, a small cup of coffee, and maybe about 7 or 8 of them. I couldn't do 13.
No, I don't blame you. Now, are you a foo-foo coffee guy? Or
I prefer Dunkin' Donuts.
Really?
Black Dunkin' Donuts, but I can get from Starbucks. We try to do as many of these events we can in independent coffee shops and stay away from the chains, but unfortunately a lot of the independent coffee shops around the district have a hard time staying open.
It's tough.
But I'll drink pretty much any kind of coffee, but Dunkin' Donuts is my favorite.
Well, that's good to know because I know the roasters. Yeah. So now they also do the Cop on the Roof program.
Yes, that's another,
right?
And that's a Special Olympics fundraiser as well.
Okay,
where they sort of hold the cop hostage on the roof until you get a certain number of donations, and then they let them down.
Yeah.
So another creative way to raise money for Special Olympics.
Well, there's so many good things out there. There's no doubt about that. And earlier I touched on it. You're very, very interested in senior.
Yes.
Initiatives, and where it comes to the as we all get older, thank God we're getting older, and our whole continuum is changing, but the challenges that come with older age, and the dementia and different things that come along. You want to say anything about that?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I got into it. I found out about a year or so after I became senator, they did sort of a demographic study of each one of our Senate districts, and I was told by the staffer who did it that I had one of the highest percentages of seniors in my district. I have an aging population in my district. As you mentioned, that comes with it all sorts of challenges. And they're personal challenges for those of us who have aged ones in our family, but they're public policy challenges as well. Because as the population ages and people last longer, it can create a burden on government helping to take care of seniors. One of the best ways we've done it's good personally for aging individuals, and it's good from a taxpayer perspective too, is trying to care for aging people in their homes. Yeah. It's much cheaper, and it's a better quality of life
them, for sure.
For them.
As long as they can
so I've introduced legislation to help address that problem, to make sure that we have responsible people going into individuals' homes to taking care of our loved ones. I've done other things involving property tax relief for seniors. So it's a real important issue with people in my district.
Yeah, I think property tax relief is a huge thing. Keep them in their homes.
Right.
Keep them invested, and that's a great thing. So thanks for that, and keep it up, please.
I will.
Keep it up. There's, with the big litany of things that you have to carry down in Springfield and Chicago, and so we're not going to go there on some of it, like budgets, and unless you want to.
Sure. Well, it's it's the elephant in the room right now, and it sort of has paralyzed everything else. So we have pending right now in the Senate a bipartisan effort. A lot of people have come to call the grand bargain that's been negotiated in the Senate. It's kept the governor and the House, the other chamber, out of it for right now. And I think it's encouraging. Sooner or later, we're going to have to vote for something that no one really likes, that has, from everyone's perspective, both Republicans and Democrats, some bad things in it, but we have to have a budget. We can't continue to operate the state without the budget. So I'm committed to meeting in the middle and the so-called grand bargain and passing something out and trying to get a budget. We just can't continue to do the damage to the state that we've been doing.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that because we all know it's not good for any of us.
That's
and
right.
We all want what's good for all of us, so it's a big challenge. The last thing on politics I would ask you, gaming. Because, that's a big initiative
Yes.
in the Southland and in the state in general.
Right.
We know that it's not going to ever be a panacea for all of our ills, but it is a potential benefit to a lot of communities. And now, so when we look at legal gambling that's going on, gaming in, restaurants and
Yes.
public facilities, how do you see that thing going? So you're on the gaming.
Right, yeah, I'm on
Right.
the gaming committee. There used to be, 10 years ago, there was sort of this debate about whether we should go down this road and have gaming and expand gaming. That debate, I think, has already happened and is finished. We've seen a proliferation of gaming all over the
Yeah.
place. Like you said, in the bars and the restaurants with video poker. But also we have casinos right across the border in Indiana. I mean, we've all talked about the stories and heard the stories. I've never been to any of those casinos, but if you talk to people who've had and they walk on the parking deck, they'll tell you 80% of the cars have Illinois license plates. So
I've never really been there myself, but I've heard.
I hear it all the time. So this gaming is happening, and we have dollars that are escaping our state to Indiana, and a lot of that revenue is coming out of the south suburbs. So it just doesn't make any sense to me why we allow that to continue. So I support an expansion of gaming that would help us reclaim some of those dollars and keep them here. There's no reason why we should allow Indiana to profit off of gaming dollars from residents of Illinois. That's what we're having now. It's difficult to pass these things in Springfield. People have made the analogy to a Christmas tree, that, the south suburbs want a casino, the city of Chicago wants one, the Lake County wants one, Danville wants one, and you start hanging so many ornaments on the Christmas tree, it eventually falls over. But right now, I talked about the grand bargain, the bipartisan deal that we're working on in the Senate. It does have an expansion of gaming in it, including a casino for the south suburbs.
Okay.
So I think that's
Well, that's
an
good to
important
know.
thing.
I know it's all a negotiation, but it's something that's in everybody's thoughts all the time. And we've got Joliet in our region, and we know how they feel, and so we want to be mindful of everyone. But we also need some revenue to help some of our challenges. So as we wrap up, and thank you for your candor on all of this, but really it's about thank God for your wife and your kids. Really, I don't think they ever get enough credit for what they have to put up with Dad being gone.
That's right.
So much of the time, and he's in the limelight.
Yeah.
Whether it's running up 94 floors or doing something in a news conference, but still, how do you deal with that at home?
Well, it's hard. I try to spend as little time in Springfield as I have to, but it is a challenge, and I just have to give all credit to my wife. I have 2 daughters, 2 teenage daughters, and we've just found a way to work through it. I mean, it is definitely a burden to have to shoulder, but I just do the best I can to, when I'm at home, turn everything off. Which sometimes, people will get aggravated that I don't answer their email right away, but I have to have, find time for the family too. So that's what I try to do, is when I'm home, turn it off as much as I can and concentrate on family time.
Well, you've got a great staff. I know that.
Yes.
In the district and in Springfield. Do you want to give a shout out to them?
Yes. Well, Joe Knight, who oversees my operations here in district. Anyone who's called my office knows she's great at cutting through red tape and taking care of my constituents. And that's really the most important thing we do. It's not giving fancy speeches in Springfield on the floor. It's about when someone calls our office and they have a problem with a state agency, is cutting through that and getting them the services that they're owed because of the tax dollars they pay. And that, to me, is the most important part of my job. And Joe Knight at my office, who you've talked to before, does that. And anyone out there who knows, call my office if you have any of those problems, and we will do our best to help you out.
You want to give us your cell phone number?
I'll give you my office number.
Do that. I'm just teasing.
A lot of people. But people can can email me, bill@billcunningham.com. That's a great way to get a hold of me. My office number is 773-445-8128. And my website is senatorbillcunningham.com. You can go to those are the best ways to get a hold of me.
As we wrap up, and thank you so much, and obviously I was teasing you. I'll never give out your cell phone number, 708. No, never would do. I know on your website you talk about internships, and I think that is something really, really. We don't talk about that enough, but I think as your family. They made you read the newspaper. They didn't make you. They offered you the opportunity to read the newspaper before you go out and play ball. Stuff like that, or before you eat. That is really good, but I think there's a shortage of that today.
Yes.
Young people, I'm not sure I won't say millennials, but I mean, I've got young kids. They don't read the paper. They don't know what's going on.
Right.
They know the latest Xbox game.
Right.
So getting them engaged is really something. So you've got some programs in place.
Yeah, we try to accommodate, we get a lot of requests for internships, and we try to accommodate them all. Sometimes we work with institutions, whether they're high schools or colleges, to make sure the interns get college or high school credit. Other times we've participated in programs where, and this is kind of a year-to-year thing, where we can pay individuals to work for us, whether it's over the summer or during the week, and sometimes we just take volunteers. But it's really good real-world experience, whether you're interested in being involved in government and public service, or you want to get used to dealing with the public. That's what we do. We serve the public. And there's all sorts of implications for that. If you want to go on to a career in marketing or sales, when you're in your teens or early 20s, it's a great opportunity to learn how to interact with the public. So we would encourage people to contact us the way I just mentioned, if you know any young people interested in internships.
I would like to have had that on my resume.
Yeah.
It would make a difference. So, cool. Well, anything else you'd like to say before we take off? I
think we covered it all, Dave.
Cool. Hey, well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Anytime.
And, you want us to get you a massage for the knees or anything?
I'm okay. I did a lot of training at Swallow Cliff. So I survived climbing the stairs because of that. So
don't tell me it's Swallow Cliff.
So in the forest preserves on Route 83.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, about a half mile west of LaGrange Road. It used to be the toboggans.
Oh yeah, okay.
People who grew up in here used to go down the toboggans. I used to go down those toboggan slides when I was a kid. The county cost too much to maintain them, and I think more than a few lawsuits for mishaps. So they've replaced it with staircases, and now they're a great place to go and get a workout.
Yeah, I see people up there all the time. I didn't know what it was.
Wow. And our forest preserves are a terrific asset we have in the south and southwest suburbs.
No doubt about it.
Really great asset that not enough people take advantage of.
Okay.
So I try to as much as possible, running on the trails, or there's a number of other things to take advantage of too.
Are you a biker yet? Are you riding
a bike at all? Once my knee gives way, I'll probably be on a bike, but I think I still got a few more years of running.
You're still just a kid. You get as old as me, and you'll find out. Biking, it's not safe, but it's a lot different.
But it's a little easier on the knees and hips and ankles, so I imagine I'll be doing that sometime.
Well, we're working on a Century ride later this summer, so I'll invite you along.
All right.
How's that sound?
Sign me up.
All right.